Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Dumb and Dumber 2, T.O. this time. Starring Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, Rachel Melvin, Kathleen Turner, Laurie Holden, Steve Tom, and Rob Riggle, directed by the Farrelly brothers. Now, before I get into this, I remember going to theaters for this, being kind of amused, but not too amused. But let's see if it holds up. I don't know if it'll hold up because, yeah, we'll talk about it. Let's get into the movie. We open in a mental hospital of some kind, as it's been 20 years since the first movie, and Harry Dunn, returned by Jeff Daniels, visits his best friend Lloyd Christmas, returned by Jim Carrey, as Harry believes Lloyd is upset with him for the last 20 years, and Lloyd eventually makes noises until he eventually says, or screams, let me rephrase that, "Gotcha!" Because he fakes it, and they laugh about it. And at the end of the scene, which is really something you shouldn't joke about for 20 years, because being in the situation Lloyd was in by wasting 2 decades of his life like it was garbage, and that's a pretty damn serious thing to joke about, as it felt dreadful. And they get back home, which was in the first movie, and Billy the blind wheelchair kid, who was in the first movie, has a new pet now, bird, named Siskel, as in Siskel and Ebert, I'm guessing. And they get home with a cat named, and, oh yeah, Harry gets home with Lloyd with a cat named Butthole. Why did they name him that? Because of his booty, let's say. And Harry tells Lloyd he needs a kidney transplant, or else he's dead meat. And is any of this funny? And do I like the characters? Well, I never liked them to begin with, I'll say this. It's worse than the first movie, but it's a little bit better than Dumb and Dumberer, as we're in the sequel called Stupid and Stupider 2. And they get to Harry's parents' place, and I don't mean to be racist, but I don't remember them being a different race from Dumb and Dumberer, as I'm guessing they're trying to erase that piece of garbage from that series, and they speak a little Mandarin, and I'm guessing is what that was. And as they leave, Harry gets a postcard from Freda Felcher, played by Kathleen Turner, who was brought up in the first movie, as Harry learns he was a dad, and they can't find Freda until they get it from Peastain, her address from Peastain's house. And who is Peastain? I'm afraid he's dead, as we never got to know him. And they find out he's dead. Yeah, dead. And they take a bus, and Lloyd makes the second most annoying sound in the world. And they tell him he's dead from the motorcycle accident. And they do not get an address where Freda lives. But remember, she works at a funeral home. And the humor is getting tiresome, while the new humor is awkward and uncomfortable for damn sure. Harry and Lloyd visit Freda at the funeral home and ask if they can meet her daughter, and she said she gave her up for adoption many years ago, and Freda gives them the address of, and they see the photo of her daughter Penny, played by Rachel Melvin, whom I've never seen before nor after this, as I don't like this as a MacGuffin. While Harry and Lloyd want to track her down, and they stop by Freda's place, leading to believe Penny lives there. And they go back to on the road again to find Penny, and Harry imagining what it would like to be a parent, while Lloyd cleans up bird crap on the window of the car, and they stay at a hotel while Lloyd puts Butthole the cat in Billy's apartment. And this is 15 times worse than the first movie, but 10 times better than Dumb and Dumberer, in my opinion. Penny gets picked up by Travis, played by Rob Riggle, as her stepfather is Dr. Pinchelow, and his wife Adele, played by Laurie Holden. And Penny is just, and oh my god, Penny is just as stupid as Harry and Lloyd. While Adele wants money from her husband, and Travis is also in on it, while Adele tries to poison Dr. Pinchelow, until Harry and Lloyd ring the doorbell quite a few times to ask for Penny, but she's not home, as she's on the way to a convention of some kind in El Paso, Texas. And Dr. Pinchelow lets them in and talk about Penny, as Harry wants to see her, and they call her, but Lloyd picks up the phone as she forgets her phone in the package at the house, and Larry and Lloyd volunteered to bring them both to Penny, and that's another terrible MacGuffin to go along with Travis throughout the movie. Harry, Lloyd, and Travis go on the road and play a farting game with the windows up, and Travis makes a rule as the king of the car, and Harry and Lloyd fart on Travis' side of the car, which is stupid as hell, as this whole movie is stupid as hell. And Lloyd thinks about how he took Penny to prom and saves her life and fights the bad guys in the most slapstick way possible, which reminded me of the first one, which was so stupid and so inappropriate, as Harry sacrifices himself. And it was just a dream, and we get back to reality, and Travis freezes Harry and Lloyd's privates as a prank, and they get him back by blowing up his hotel room with fireworks and have a laugh while Travis is hurt. And I don't like the image Lloyd has while this movie is stupid and inappropriate. Travis wants Harry and Lloyd dead as they go on the road the next day, and Harry and Lloyd almost get blown up by dynamite thanks to Travis, as they can't hear a damn thing, and Travis almost kills them until a train hits the car, as it was on train tracks. And Harry and Lloyd can't hear anything and steal a pair of hearing aids while Lloyd grabs her privates, an elderly lady's privates, which, ugh, so they can get hearing aids, as this is so terrible and inappropriate, as Adele is on the phone with Captain Lippincott, also played by Rob Riggle, while he's disguised as the wall of the house, and Harry hears everything and squeaks from his hearing aids, and they get to a town where they get their doggy van back, and they drive it recklessly and drive something you see at the hockey games, and none of this is making me laugh whatsoever, which is really sad. Harry and Lloyd get to El Paso, and they get to the convention center in El Paso, while Lloyd finds someone who knows Penny, and they send her a message saying her father is coming with her friend, while Harry and Lloyd disguise themselves as graduating students, while Captain Lippincott tries to get Penny killed, while Harry disguises himself as Dr. Pinchelo. And the convention is led to believe they're both doctors and get some booze on them and make them smell horrible and get fresh beers, as well as some nuts, and by nuts I mean peanuts, to eat, and meets a doctor from England. And why is this movie going on too long? As this is a little too long of a movie, as it was getting exhausting after a while. Harry and Lloyd are interrupting another doctor, and he says he's a fraud, and Lloyd gets thrown out as he wants to date Penny and marry her, and Harry believes Penny can do better than Lloyd, and this sequel is absolutely unnecessary, as Lloyd gets a call from Penny to meet her in a fountain in the next 10 minutes, while Adele sees Harry portraying her husband, and she tells security he's not the real Dr. Pinchelo, while Lloyd meets Penny and takes her to a place to eat, and their romance doesn't work for me at all. Adele and Captain Lippincott, as they both corner around Harry portraying her husband, confront Harry while portraying her husband, while Lloyd tells Penny about her real mother and father, as Lloyd imagines he and Freda at a mountain, and he's led to believe she's his kid, as Penny goes back to the convention center, and Freda is also there, as everyone can see Harry's inside Harry's mind, and Freda sees Penny is crying, and the fire alarm goes off, and Harry is taken to Adele, and Harry grabs the box to Freda and gives it, and Freda tells Penny she's her mother, and none of this is working at all, as this is completely bland and dull, and that's the worst thing a comedy could be. Adele and Captain Lippincott find Harry, Freda, and Penny in the bathroom, as Lloyd takes out his kidney and puts it in a cold box, and Harry and Lloyd learn they're not the fathers of Freda's, as Freda confesses she made out with a lot of men, and Lippincott betrays Adele and Dr. Pinchelo, coming in with the FBI, and Adele almost kills Penny, but Harry takes the bullet and is taken to the hospital, as Lloyd wants to give his best friend his kidney, but as it turns out, it's a damn pork chop. And as it turns out, Harry says gotcha about the kidney situation, as he faked it, and again, that's not funny. And Harry gets out of the hospital, and we learn Penny's real father is Peastane, as she meets her grandparents, and Dr. Pinchelo says Freda can stay with her for a while, and Harry and Lloyd learn a little bit about sex, and They end the movie with Harry and Lloyd pushing a couple of girls in a plant, and credits roll to an after-credits scene where Seabass, remember him from the first movie, almost beats up Harry and Lloyd after Harry and Lloyd throwing their milkshakes out their window while Captain Lippincott shows up behind the sign, and we get a new Dumb and Dumber 4 coming in the summer of 2034. And based on people's disappointments, that's not going to happen at this point. And the climax makes no damn sense, as this movie is more stupid than the first movie. Let's explain why in a rating. I'll give this movie a 2.8 out of 10. This is not as good nor as funny as the first movie, which I gave a 4.3, but this is 15 times worse than that film. But it's much better than Dumb and Dumberer by 10 notches. Maybe 12, I don't know. As the characters are much worse here than in the first time, and I was disappointed they didn't play the tag at all during the movie. None of the movies made me laugh, as this isn't funny at all, as this is terrible and absolutely inappropriate to the point the movie was exhausting after a while, as the humor is old and the new humor is super awkward. This is completely an unnecessary sequel, as after people giving this movie all sorts of hate, I really hope we don't get any more of this in 2034, whenever the hell that's coming, as that might be the case with this, as this series turned out to be the most disappointing after childhood to adulthood. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me for this Dumb and Dumber retrospective, and until, I don't know, whenever they reboot or do another one, you're it.